ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about why a $54 difference can mean the difference of $920 million and why this is very important for not only Elon Musk, but Tesla in general and us Tesla shareholders, okay? I want to explain this in depth. Not a lot of people understand it. So if we look at Tesla stock right now, it's right around $306 a share. Why does this matter? Well, Tesla is going to have $920 million in debt coming due. That is basically going to happen if Tesla shares are not around $360 by March 1st, which means Tesla stock has about 18 days, which is even less if you take into account how many trading days there actually are. But Tesla stock has basically 18 days to go up about $54, $55. And if that happens, Tesla will not have to make a $920 million payment. Now, I want to explain why this is very big for Tesla, the company, why this matters so much, because not a lot of people really understand why this matters so much. And I want to talk about what is the likelihood that Tesla stock will go up $54 a share over the next 18 days and what will need to happen if that's going to happen, okay? So if we look at Tesla, like we spoke about, it's around $306, so it needs to go up about $54, $55 to reach that level. If we look at Tesla's balance sheet right now, they have close to $3.7 billion on it as of right now. Now, some of that money on cash and cash equivalents is like untouchable money. So you might say, well, $920 million out of, $3.6 billion or so, that's a decent chunk out of that, but it's not all the money. So it's not like Tesla's going to go out of business or something like that. Yeah, that's true, but it's still a considerable amount when you look at what Tesla is coming for over the next year or so, okay? They need every dollar they can have in their cash balances as of right now. Now, the good news about this is they are supposed to possibly pay out this debt in about half stock, half cash, which means around $460 million would leave that balance sheet, which is still a considerable amount of money when you're talking about $3.6 billion, some of that being money that's basically untouchable money that Tesla really can't even touch at this moment. And when you look at how much Tesla has coming down the road, okay? Number one, we're going to talk about why is this a big deal. Number two, can the share price get to $360 in the next 18 days? Now, the first reason why this is a big deal, if we look at what Tesla's done over the last couple quarters, first, it has been profitable, okay? They have, eked out some net incomes, but they're not huge amounts of money. I know in the grand scheme of things, it sounds like a ton of money, right? $254 million and $210 million sounds like a ridiculous amount of money, but for a company that Tesla size, it's actually not very much net income at all. Now, keep in mind that Tesla delivered a ridiculous amount of high-end Model 3s during that time to the United States. So meaning that those were probably Tesla's most profitable cars as of right now that they shipped in heavy over the past few quarters, all right? That's something to take into account, and we have seen that Tesla Model 3s delivered in the US has dropped substantially, all right? Now, they are starting to deliver into the EU, into China, so a lot of their models are going out there. But if we look at Inside EVs, which is pretty accurate as far as these numbers go, they estimate only around 6,500 Model 3s came to US buyers in January, which is ridiculously down versus what they had posted, basically all in the fall time and even into the late summertime. So a big question comes up now, like how profitable, if profitable at all, can Tesla be in its upcoming next few quarters when Model 3 demand has slowed substantially in the US? And if we think about it like this, Model 3 is supposed to come down in price. Well, as Model 3 comes down in price, right, hopefully Tesla has cost advantages, but it might not mean any extra money for Tesla in the end as it brings down the prices. So say, for instance, Tesla saves $1,000. Well, they might just bring down the Model 3 price by $1,000, so they kind of cancel each other out. You can maybe get some more volumes out of that, and that would be a good thing for Tesla overall, but it's not as big of an impact as you might think as cost reduction comes, because they're going to probably lower price more and more, all right? If we look here, cost to ship a car from California to China, it's estimated around $2,500 to $6,000 per vehicle, meaning that either Tesla has to take that hit or customers in China have to take that hit. Somebody's taking that massive hit to ship cars all the way from California to basically to China and whatnot. There's also a substantial rate that basically if you're shipping from California to Europe as well. So either way, it's a lot of money we're talking about, and someone's taking that hit. It's either Tesla's taking that hit or the customers are taking that hit, which means vehicles get more expensive. If we look at Model 3 in China right now, it starts at $72,000 as of right now. $72,000 is what Model 3 is starting at in China. Now, as a Tesla shareholder, I think the Model 3 is awesome. Does a starting Model 3 at $72,000 make sense? In my personal opinion, no. Now, some people will still buy it. Some people will buy anything at any price, but I mean, $72,000 for a Model 3, it's just not a car that, in my personal opinion, that's worth $72,000 at a starting model. Like, that is insane in my personal opinion, okay? Now, also, Model Y is supposed to be ramping up some point in very early 2020. They're actually supposed to show off Model Y in 2019, which this model, Elon Musk has talked about, it could be 50% higher demand than what Model 3. I was expecting, me to even get one of these Model Ys when they come out, especially, if it has good design, it has good spacing in it, and, it's somewhere around a realistic price point of maybe, let's say, $50,000 or somewhere around there. Now, keep in mind, the Model Y is going to have a lot of similarities to the Model 3, so the ramp up might not cost as much for Tesla as, say, the Model 3 ramp up did, but it's still going to be a substantial cost to get the Model Y ramped once they end up doing that, okay? It's going to take a lot of money out of Tesla's balance sheet that they're going to have to use for infrastructure to build out that line, especially if we're talking about 50% more demand than what the Model 3 had, okay? So regardless, whichever way you want to cut the mustard there, it's going to be a lot of money, all right? Also, Tesla Shanghai is being built. Now, Tesla is supposed to finance this project with Chinese money. Basically, the Chinese banks are looking over all the loan terms and whatnot and trying to figure out their best bet. But there is construction literally going on that Shanghai factory right now. Now, I believe that money is probably coming out of Tesla's pocket. That's at least all the construction that's going right now. I believe that money's coming out of Tesla's pockets because they haven't, agreed to a term with any bank in China for the full loan yet. Now, also, Tesla laid off 7% of its full-time staff recently. Now, there's always a bunch of one-time costs that come whenever you lay off a bunch of staff, especially when you're talking about thousands of employees, which in this case, I think it was around 3,000 employees in total were laid off from Tesla. You got a bunch of one-time costs that end up hitting the company. And so if you're looking at it from a long-term perspective, it obviously is a cost advantage, but if it's looking at a short-term, that's going to hurt profitability in a major way, at least for this upcoming quarter. So that's something to take into account. So needless to say, Tesla's not in a position like some of the other big tech companies like an Apple or Facebook or Google, where those type of companies, a few $100 million or even a few $1 billion, it's like nothing. If you're talking about Facebook or Google or Apple or those type of companies, like it's nothing, okay? If they had to make a $920 million debt payment, that's like you or I like buying a can of soda, right? It's nothing to them. But to Tesla at this stage, it's still a substantial amount of money when you look at all the projects. So the question is, how likely is it that Tesla's stock could go up $54, $55 in a matter of 18 days, okay? Well, it's actually a little more likely than you might think. You might think that's so unrealistic, but then you look at Tesla's stock chart and we can find 3 times just in the past year alone where Tesla shares have gone up $50 or more in that time span. If we look at the beginning of June to around the middle of June, over a $50 price move there in Tesla stock. If we look at toward the end of July to the beginning of August, we're going to see another $50+ move in Tesla stock, all right? And then if we look at, let's say, late October into the very early beginning of part of November, we're going to see another $50+ move there. So 3 times over the past year, Tesla stock has moved up well enough in a few weeks time, 2 or 3 week span to basically cover a move like this, all right? So my opinion, the chance that Tesla rises $54, $55 in the next 18 days, I would put it at around a 10% probability. And you might ask, how could a move like that even happen, okay? In my opinion, there's 2 scenarios that could get Tesla stock to move up that much, that fast. The first scenario is someone that is a super famous investor, which there aren't a ton of them, but a super famous investor actually invests in it, or a very popular investment fund actually buys in to Tesla and that info goes public. Maybe they even go on CNBC or Bloomberg and talk about why they're so bullish on Tesla, but it needs to be a very famous investor. It needs to be a very popular investment fund, a massive hedge fund or something like that has never really bought Tesla stock in the past, and they just made a substantial position in Tesla. Then they go on CNBC and Bloomberg and all these other publications, and they talk about why Tesla is going to be $1,000 stock. If something like that happens, we could get a massive move up, because whenever you have a super famous investor come to a stock, all of a sudden you're going to have a ton of money follow through, because you basically have a lot of funds that will basically allocate money however a super famous investor does or another big fund does, okay? So that's one way that could happen. The second way this could happen is if a big tech firm invests in Tesla and the info also goes public. So someone like a Google or an Apple or a Facebook or an Amazon or somebody like that, or maybe even another big Chinese company. We know Tencent already has an investment in Tesla. Maybe someone like an Alibaba makes a big investment. That information actually goes public. If you get something like that, all of a sudden you get people's wheels spinning and wow, this big tech company just invests a bunch of money in Tesla. Why would they spend a bunch of money in Tesla? They must believe in that company a lot long term. Maybe there's partnership deals that can, help Tesla expand around the world even faster and things like that. Okay. So if you got something like that, then we could be looking at a massive move up in Tesla stock price in literally a few days span or a few weeks span. But outside of those two possibilities, I don't think there's anything else out there that could happen with Tesla in the next 2 or 3 weeks that could get Tesla to move up huge like it would have to. But this is a very important thing, guys. It's not something that's like, oh, this is going to bankrupt the company. But if we're looking at how fast Tesla can expand their business model over the next few years, $460 million, because they're talking about half stock, half cash, $460 million, you can do a lot with that money to help build out infrastructure in a much more rapid pace than what you could if you don't have that money on the balance sheet, essentially. So I hope this did a good job of explaining the debt coming due for Tesla and why it's a big issue. And I would love to hear your guys' opinion down there in that comment section. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button and have a great day. So look at this. This has nothing to do with today's video, but I was just looking up, what they're saying about Model 3 sales in January, whatnot. I log into the LA Times and it's look at the headline right there at the top left-hand corner. Like, I can understand why Right Wing doesn't trust anybody from, honestly, the media. It's like unbelievable headlines like that. I completely understand why they don't trust the media. That's the bottom line. I used to not understand it. Now I can, reading headlines like that right on the front page. It's embarrassing.